Welcome to HopeSpoke's psychoeducation video series. My name is Cambria Byro, and I'm an outpatient therapist here at HopeSpoke. Today, I'll be giving an introduction to LGBTQIA+ topics. To celebrate Pride Month, we'll be covering some basic LGBTQIA+ terms and information. There are so many definitions and vocabulary words floating around in the community, and it can be difficult to dissect what it all means. This video is meant to be an introduction to some basic concepts, as we cannot possibly cover the complete and complex aspects of the queer community in one video. The following information comes from the Human Rights Campaign and Margaret Schindler's videos. With that being said, let's get started. The LGBTQIA+ acronym stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, two-spirit, queer, questioning, intersex, and asexual. Now, all of these words deal with one of the four key traits that every person, queer or not, has. Biological sex, or sex assigned at birth, is the physical anatomy with which you are born. Doctors will use male, female, or intersex to describe a child at birth based on their external or internal anatomy. Gender identity is the personal feeling and conceptualization of one's own experiences with gender. Gender identity is how individuals perceive themselves and what they call themselves. One's gender identity can either be the same or different from their sex assigned at birth. Sexual orientation is the gender to which a person is attracted to, either emotionally, romantically, or sexually. It should be noted that an individual's sexual orientation is independent of their gender identity. And finally, gender expression is how a person chooses to outwardly show their gender identity. This can be through behaviors, clothing, body characteristics, and more. As Margaret Schindler says, biological sex is what you have, gender identity is what you feel, sexual orientation is who you love, and gender expression is how you look and act. So we just broke down the acronym and we talked about the four key traits. Now let's put them all together. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, and asexual refer to sexual orientation. Intersex refers to differences in biological sex and can also be related to being transgender. Both intersex and transgender are related to gender identity. Two-spirit refers to a person who identifies as having both a masculine and a feminine spirit, and it is only used by Indigenous people to describe their sexuality, their gender identity, and/or their spiritual identity. Queer is an umbrella term used by most of the community to refer to the community. And finally, the other Q, questioning, refers to people who are still questioning their gender or sexuality. The LGBTQIA+ community widely accepts that the four traits are each on a spectrum, or a scale with two or more opposing points. Traits can fall on either extreme, anywhere in between, or even outside of the spectrum altogether. So with that being said, let's jump into some different spectrums. The extremes on each end of the biological sex spectrum are male and female. These extremes are determined mainly by the hormones and the organs that a person has, and it is often dictated by the society in which we live. For males, this is testosterone and external sex organs, as well as secondary sex characteristics such as body and facial hair and a lower voice. For females, this is typically estrogen, internal sex organs, and reproductive organs for pregnancy, as well as secondary sex characteristics such as breasts, wider hips, and a higher voice. Intersex is the term used to describe people whose combination of hormones, internal sex organs, and genitals do not fit society's binary notions of male or female bodies. The 2 points on the gender identity spectrum are boy or man and girl or woman. Boys and men usually use he, him, his pronouns, and they typically feel masculine. On the other end of the spectrum, girls and women usually use she, her, hers pronouns, and they typically feel feminine. People who identify outside of the gender binary are typically under the umbrella term of genderqueer and or non-binary. These folks often use neutral pronouns like they, them, theirs, or a variation of neopronouns like z's or z. It is important to listen and respect the appropriate pronouns that a person uses, as it recognizes and validates their gender identity. As a refresher, gender identity is the gender that you feel inside. When your internal gender identity matches your assigned sex at birth, that is called cisgender. When they don't match, that is called transgender. Some, but not all transgender people experience gender dysphoria, or the uncomfortable feeling that the body doesn't match the mind. And some, but not all transgender people will choose to transition. Transitioning is a series of processes that some transgender people may undergo in order to live life more fully as their true gender. Transitioning can include changing one's name, utilizing hormone therapy, or even undergoing various surgeries. It is never okay to ask a transgender person where they are in their transition. If they want you to know, they will tell you. The sexual orientation spectrum has evolved beyond 2 fixed points. We have heterosexual, which is the attraction to somebody of the opposite gender. Then we have homosexual, which is attraction to the same gender. In between is bisexual, which is attraction to 2 or more genders. And then someone who is asexual experiences little to no sexual attraction to anybody, regardless of gender. There are several other more nuanced prefixes out there, ones that we cannot possibly cover all in one video. Some of these identities can be confusing and hard to understand if you've never been exposed to them before. But if a person defines themselves in a way that is new to you, it is okay and even important to respectfully ask what their identity means to them. The major message that folks should take away from this video is the importance of letting someone define their own gender and sexuality. It is important to respect their pronouns, their name, their appearance, and their choice in partners. If you're still feeling a little confused, it's more than okay to do some research on your own. I recommend checking out Planned Parenthood, the Human Rights Campaign, or your local LGBTQIA+ resource center. Additionally, I'd like to give a special shout out to a major source of information, Margaret Schindler. They have created many videos and resources about the LGBTQIA+ community, and they deserve recognition for their work. If you are interested in therapy services for yourself or your child, HopeSpoke is currently accepting new clients. We are currently offering both telehealth and in-person services for our outpatient programming. Please call 402-475-7666 to schedule your first appointment or to receive more information. Be sure to check back in with HopeSpoke's video series for more information and education. We will have a new topic for each installment, so be sure to keep an eye out for future videos. Thanks, and bye for now.